My next guest has starred in dozens of commercials, TV shows, and starred in movies like The Sixth Sense, and he'll be seen in the third season of the Netflix hit House of Cards. Actor Mike Lyons is here now to talk about fulfilling your own dreams. Welcome, Mike. How are you?
Thank you, Dr. Joanne. It's great to be here on Power Your Life.
Well, we're going to talk about empowering your life, and so you've been doing just that. You've been on many kinds of shows and whatever. What was it like working with Bruce Willis?
Well, yeah, I was in The Sixth Sense and worked for a couple of days on the film, and my scene started off with me standing next to Bruce Willis, and so I had to do take after take after take. And you know, when you're on a movie like The Sixth Sense, he's very, very intense, so didn't really get a chance to talk to him too much, but he's a great actor, and the movie, of course, was a huge hit.
Great. How did you get started in your acting career, Mike?
Well, I was a child actor, and in fact, my first scene when I was a child was with famous actor Tony Curtis in a movie called Paris When It Sizzles, when I lived in Paris, France as a child.
You lived in Paris as a child?
I did, yes, for 3 years, and that was my start, and I kind of got the acting bug, and then later on when I was back in the United States, I realized that my kids were all going to be in college at the same time, 5 years down the road, and I didn't have enough money saved up for college, so I decided to start doing some commercials. So picked that up about 20 years ago, and then the commercials led to All My Children, and then small parts in films, and so forth and so on, which I did all on the side because I had a full-time day job.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. You've been an entrepreneur, and you've started several businesses, I think 4. And a lot of those businesses, of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to take risk. What do you want to tell us about risk-taking? When is it too much or too little?
Well, I think there's a lot of people out there in the world that are just not happy either in their lives or in their careers. And yet they stay in their situation because they don't want to take that risk. And I tell people you need to take the action that you need to pursue some of the daydreams that you have.
Right, but at the same time, make sure when you're taking a risk, it's not something that's, you're not jumping off a bridge or something like, I'm being, you know, a little bit outrageous.
Yeah, you have to be practical
here.
about it. But I think that a lot of people will daydream about having a little shop or writing a book or things, and you can do that on the side for a while until you do take that jump.
Right. Now you also have a background in singing, so I'm not going to ask you to sing, although I'd love to ask you to sing, but I won't do that. Tell us a little bit about one of your businesses.
Well, I've started a number of businesses. One of the businesses was tied into singing, was called Music Tracks. It was in a mall, and I discovered it in San Francisco, and I bought the franchise, and it was actually a little recording studio that you could go in and sing a song to a track and buy the tape for $9.99. So I invested in that, put up all of the money that I had, my equity in my home.
Scary.
And very scary. And I had 3 small kids at the time, so it really was rolling the dice. But it was successful enough, and we were able to make our money back on that, and then we moved to another state at that point. But that was one example of just taking a big risk. And
fulfilling that daydream that you've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So also what I think is important is that you've done all this, and you're kind of not, I wouldn't say a jack of all trades, but you're allowing your interests and your talents to come out and to surface and to play with that, which I think is really important. Tell us, because there are so many of us right now who would love to be able to get into acting or see themselves with that vision, that daydream. What does it take?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is to determine what is your passion, you know, and I think that's the thing that you daydream about. When you're sitting in that boring meeting and your mind wanders off to that happy place, what is that happy place?
So I think we need to tell people it's okay to daydream, as long as you're not daydreaming on a test or daydreaming when you're dreaming.
I think it's great to daydream because the daydreams are the things that you can then turn into reality. But let's, again, be practical. You have to establish some timelines and some guidelines, and there's always a financial implication. So you have to make sure that you take the necessary steps to do that. But I encourage and I ask people to just follow their instincts, empower yourselves, and take the action to get there.
Right. Action, as you and I have talked about, is just so important. You could have all these wonderful dreams, daydreams, and see it in living color, but if you're not taking the action, nothing's happening.
Well, and you asked me about how you get into acting for people that are interested, and the first thing you have to do is go get your headshot taken. So if you don't do that, it's simple enough, but yet many people over the years that I've said that to, years later I'll say, did you ever get your head shot? Oh no, I never got a chance. Well, then they're not motivated to do it.
It's like people say to me, I have a book in me, I'd love to write a book, and I keep thinking, well, why don't you do it? And they've been saying that for years and years and years, and nothing's happening.
And I say to them, take an hour every day. Carve out an hour to write your book.
Or even a half hour, because if you're doing that, it adds up, and you're talking about building confidence, it's amazing. What other actor have you worked with that you can share a secret about?
Well, I had a great scene with Bradley Cooper in the movie Limitless, where I was sitting at a table having lunch with him. I played a Wall Street trader, and a delightful guy, Philadelphia native, of course, but very kind and very generous, and went around and introduced himself to everybody as if they didn't know who he was. So a genuinely really, really nice guy. And I have worked with a number of actors over the years whose names I will not mention.
Okay, can you give us a secret about your upcoming series?
You know, I wish I could, but I actually had to sign a non-disclosure.
Oh my God, we can't even get one for Power Your Life?
They guard, I can't really say anything, because they guard those plots very, very secretively.
So people are going to have to watch House of Cards and tune in and see Michael Lyons in February. That's what it starts? Okay, great. Thanks so much, Mike. You've been a pleasure.
Great to be here, Joanne.
My pleasure. Power Your Life. We'll be right back. And ahead, find out what's hot for next week. Before we go, I'd like to leave you with my PowerPoints for the week. Our relationships, our health, and our loved ones, including our dreams, have a lot in common. For starters, they need our attention, our respect, endurance, and tender loving care. But that's certainly not enough. Without action to back them up and to move them forward, where would they be? Probably nowhere. So nurture your dreams and your health as you would someone you love very deeply, and nourish your relationships as if they are your most cherished gifts. Thanks for being with us today. Make sure that you tune in next week for a fun and informative show, and please remember that you have the power to power your dreams and power your life.